Okay, let's give a big round of applause for Julie Boardman for her creativity and persistence and entrepreneurship in supporting, New York City's homegrown industry. Detroit may have automobiles, Texas has oil, but New York City, goddammit, has Broadway. And we're not going to let anyone forget about that, including the forces of darkness in Washington, D.C., who probably could use a Broadway show to lighten up and understand humanity, because that's fundamentally about, what we're doing here in the arts in New York City. It is creating empathy and an ability to understand each other on an artistic level, but on a human level. And thank you, Julie, for what I call the Smithsonian of Broadway, which is the Museum of Broadway. So another round of applause. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing that amazing exhibit. I'm State Senator Brad Hoylman-Sigal, and I'm running for Manhattan Borough President. And boy, I am just so excited to see so many of you, friends who have supported me throughout my political career when I was running for city council or running for state senator, when I was a community board chair down in the village. Susan Kim, where are you? It is, gratifying to have friends old and new. And look at all the young people here. It's extraordinary. And they're really fueling our campaign. And a special shout out to my dear heart, David Siegel, my husband. Or as he likes to call himself, long-suffering husband. But I love you, David, and thank you for all the support. Look, why are we here? Because there is a crisis of leadership, not just in Washington, D.C., which we all know about, but of course, in City Hall too. And we really have to work together as an electorate to turn the page on this current administration. And it is so crucial that young people are part of our effort, but also, middle-aged and older folks. This is an enterprise. Yes, a round of applause for the older folks. Being one of them myself, or rapidly approaching. Look, I've been in the Senate for 12 years. I think you know the district. Some of you live in it. It runs from Christopher Street, home of the historic Stonewall Inn, birthplace of the LGBTQ human rights movement, all the way up to West 103rd. And of course, you can say it with me, from the gay bars to Zay bars. Yes. And thank you, well done. And our effort is really about introducing new, bold ideas to local government. Because let's face it, it's cathartic to get out on the streets, collect signatures, raise money for your candidates, talk about ideas, because nobody else is in City Hall, and certainly nobody's doing it in Washington, D.C. But I am running for borough president because this is where we can make a difference. We can make a difference for our kids at the city level, whether it's our public schools. I was very proud to have passed legislation that requires insurance plans to cover the costs of dyslexia examinations, which cost anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000. That is so important. As a parent with my husband of a kid with dyslexia, we know that kids need to be screened for dyslexia and dysgraphia. That's why 20%, it's estimated, of black men on Rikers are dyslexic. We have to confront that problem head on. And in the borough president's office, I plan to screen every kindergarten in Manhattan for dyslexia. Wouldn't that be a great start? So that parents understand, and so that teachers and the school system can adapt to this reality, which is we have a crisis of reading in our schools. Secondly, affordability should be at the top of everyone's agenda as we head into this election cycle. Let's face it, New York City is too expensive for young people to move here and way too expensive for many old people to stay here. We have to change that paradigm. We need to build new affordable housing. If housing is built on city or state property, it should be 100% affordable, bar none. We shouldn't be giving away precious public space to the highest bidder without a return for we, the citizens of New York City. I want to create something that we're calling a Manhattan Tenants Union in the Borough President's office, because there are so many tenants who are not only protected by rent regulation, but they're also protected by the law that I helped get passed called Good Cause Eviction Protections. That means if you're a young person, you've just moved to New York City, you could, in fact, be protected from unconscionable rent increases lease after lease. But most tenants don't even know they're protected. We're going to change that with the Manhattan Tenants Union. Thank you on that one. And third, as a former community board chair myself, I was on a community board for 10 years and was the chair for 3. I have the scars to prove it. One of the things we need at the grassroots level, at the community level, where people are volunteering their time. Some of them have expertise in different areas. Many do not have expertise in housing or development or real estate. That's why I'm going to appoint in the Borough President's office a real estate financial analyst. So when a developer comes back to us and says, no, we can't build that much affordable, you know what we're going to do? We're going to double check the math. And we're going to make sure that the community gets the affordable housing it deserves and that every New Yorker should have. So that's what we're going to do in the Borough President's office. And thank you. Yeah. And third, you talk about arts and culture. It is the heartbeat of our city. It is what attracts not just tourists, but new New Yorkers who want to live here for the excitement. We have to continue to support it. I am proud to have introduced in the State Senate and passed the musical and theatrical tax credit that today is providing millions of dollars to producers who put up shows and risk a lot of money to do so. You know what it is? It's a subsidy for the arts. But isn't that worth it? Shouldn't we be doing that in a civilized society? Well, we're going to make that tax credit even bigger in this budget that we're working on up in Albany. And we're also going to expand the TV and movie tax credit to include composers. So many of our friends and neighbors work in the music industry, and they should be part of the tax credit too, and we're fighting to do that in Albany today. So we're going to get that done. Thank you on that one. And then finally, I don't know about you, but when I go out onto the street or take our daughter to the subway, you can see some pretty scary things. And let's face it, quality of life and public safety are a crucial issue in this election. How are we going to deal with these problems? I mean, you feel that the city is out of control. The other day, I literally dodged an e-bike that was going down the wrong way, and I ran into a wall of scaffolding. I mean, that kind of sums up what so many of us see and feel on the streets. Scaffolding creates this sense of disrepair and decrepitude, but it's also unsafe. It's dark, and it should be removed. Well, just this week, we had an award for the longest standing sidewalk shed on the West Side. We have the Tonys, we have the Grammys. We called it the Sheddies. The Sheddies. So we gave out statuettes. We had a red carpet. Julie, you would have loved it. It was a Broadway production in and of itself. But you know what we also did? We introduced legislation, Assemblymember Micah Lasher and I, that's going to create both sticks and carrots for building owners. If a building owner gets his sidewalk shed down before it's actually due to come down, they'll get a tax credit. And if they keep it up, though, longer than it should be, they're going to be penalized. That's how we should deal with landlords who aren't removing sidewalk sheds. And on mental health and the public safety crisis that we all feel, yeah, subway crime is down to historic lows. That's a wonderful thing. But do you feel safe on the subway? Do you feel safe when somebody's jumping the turnstile ahead of you or going on the bus, without paying? I mean, I feel like a chump. I feel like I'm the only person on the bus sometimes paying a fare. We have to crack down on fare evasion. That's $700 million a year that we're losing. And we have congestion pricing, which I strongly support, but you can't have congestion pricing and let people get away without paying the fare at the same time. None of us can be free riders, literally. We all have to be part of this New York project. So not only will we address that with new saloon-style doors to keep fare evaders out, cameras on buses to catch those who don't pay. But you know what? We're also going to, which I'm very proud to say is in the governor's budget, we're going to expand the number of mental health professionals who can actually direct individuals in treatment. Because it is not humane for a civilized society to have so many people struggling on subway platforms or on your street corner or, God knows they need homes and they need help. So thank you. So the governor's budget includes my legislation to expand the number of mental health professionals who can actually provide that treatment. It's not just going to be physicians any longer. We're going to expand it to nurse psychiatric professionals, to social workers, and psychologists. The more people on the ground to do this important work, the more people who will get the services and the help they need. And a final thing on mental health. What's crazy about our insurance system, again, is that somebody who's struggling with a mental health condition, at best, gets 2 weeks of treatment under most insurance plans. And that's just not enough time, particularly if you're dealing with a very weighty diagnosis like paranoid schizophrenia. So we're going to force the insurers to actually extend that stay so folks can get the treatment they need so they can get off the streets. And we're not going to put them in congregate shelters anymore. We're going to go for supportive housing, just like we've done in Chelsea, housing that's 100% state subsidized and provides wrap-around care for all the inhabitants. And that includes addiction services, mental health, and employment opportunities. Shelters should just be a segue to permanent supportive housing for every New Yorker. We can do it. We have to do it.